January has been an incredible month for Avatar fans, as not only did we get a detailed look at 2 new concept art pieces, but we also got 2 behind-the-scenes images and learned that Empire Magazine is doing a Path to Pandora series where they will reveal exclusive monthly details on Avatar leading up to its release. Welcome to Pandora Plus, a monthly show which releases on the last Friday of each month, recapping the news of Avatar from that month. Now, if you have been keeping watch on my other videos, there may be some details repeated in here because, as mentioned, it is a recap of the month of January. However, since Avatar 3 releases this December, there will only be 12 episodes of Pandora Plus, the last one releasing on December the 26th. The March issue of Empire Magazine had the cover of 28 years later. However, at the top it stated that James Cameron talks about Avatar Fire and Ash. In this interview, we got 4 images, as mentioned, 2 of them behind the scenes and 2 are art pieces showcasing the Ash Clan, or Manquan as they are called, as well as the Wind Traders. Now, I will go into those images in a moment, but first let's recap what the interview actually revealed. James Cameron's latest conversation with Empire offers a deeper look into the progress and evolving vision of Avatar 3, officially titled Avatar Fire and Ash. Through the interview, he emphasizes how this third film will broaden Pandora's scope and narrative complexities while also honing in on raw emotional weight and moral ambiguity. It's clear he's determined for the sequel to forge its own identity rather than simply retreading familiar ground. Cameron states that Fire and Ash is in good shape, though he also calls this the last-minute freaking nightmare phase, describing the stress of juggling countless details. He screened a rough cut for himself, mentioning he felt nauseous but not nightmarish, a reflection of his perfectionism and the sheer intensity of these late-stage edits. Like previous Avatar installments, the technology and world building required tremendous fine-tuning, something Cameron appears both exhausted by and deeply committed to, remarking that despite the complexity, quote, "we're getting to the point where we're actually getting good at this," end quote. Cameron aims for a noticeably darker, more emotionally resonant film than The Way of Water, stating, quote, "the fire of hate gives way to the ash of grief," end quote. He explains, quoting a line that sums up the weightier themes in Fire and Ash. He points out that many big-budget series shy away from sustained grief, where a major loss in one film can be overshadowed by a quick return to status quo in the next. By contrast, the Sully's tragic experiences will cast a long shadow. Quote, "if you're not making brave choices, you're wasting everybody's time and money," end quote, he says, suggesting that embracing the darker fallout of previous events is a conscious departure from the usual Hollywood formula. Central to this moral complexity are the Ash People, a tribe described as hardened by hostile conditions and adversities. Led by Varang, portrayed by Una Chaplin, this new clan doesn't neatly fit into the good Na'vi archetype. Cameron openly describes them as sometimes doing things we would consider to be evil, challenging fans' assumption that the Na'vi are universally peaceful or benevolent. Quote, "we're trying to evolve beyond the all humans are bad, all Na'vi are good paradigm," end quote. He says, adding that from a Na'vi's perspective, prejudices can run both ways. This moral gray area raises intriguing questions about how the Ash People will clash or collaborate with Jake Sully's family and other tribes. Furthering the scope of Pandora's cultural and ecological mosaic, Cameron introduces the Wind Traders, nomadic groups who operate massive balloon-like vessels. Powered by medusoids, gigantic jellyfish-like organisms that produce hydrogen gas, and wind rays, creatures that uses a stingray-like motion to propel the ships, these traders evoke a maritime feel, kind of like a tugboat or a tow vehicle, Cameron muses. Continuing, quote, "if you've got any nautical blood in your veins, you'll want to be on that ship," end quote, teasing an adventurous new facet to the ever-evolving Pandora. On the human side, the RDA is back with renewed force. This time, their focus is on a substance called Amrita, extracted from the dead Tulkun, which stops human aging, an immensely valuable commodity with disturbing implications. General Ardmore, played by Eddie Falco, orchestrates operations in a way Cameron compares to colonial-era tactics, enlisting some indigenous allies against others to tighten humanity's grip on Pandora. Quote, "It's very much a colonial era, just an interstellar version of it," end quote, he remarks, reflecting real-world history's tendency to repeat itself, even in sci-fi contexts, if people fail to learn from the past. A major challenge in making a third film of any franchise is avoiding stagnation. Cameron, however, contends that Fire and Ash breaks the mold every freaking time, pointing to a shift away from simple good versus evil narratives. The story remains centered on the Sully family, carrying forward the themes of cultural immersion and unity from the previous films, but it does so through conflict, grief, and the introduction of morally complex Na'vi factions. Quote, "We're just starting to riff on the original and twist it and turn it," end quote, he says, indicating that each new installment of Avatar should surprise viewers with fresh ideas, not recycle the same formula. By weaving in new tribes like the Ash people, exploring nomadic groups like the Wind Raiders, and highlighting humanity's colonial motivations through Amrita, Cameron is expanding the tapestry of Pandora well beyond its initial presentation. Alongside the spectacle, which he promises will include really clever action set pieces, the heart of Fire and Ash lies in its commitment to explore genuine grief, conflict, and moral nuance. Currently still set to release on December 19th, Avatar Fire and Ash looks poised to be ambitious, risk-taking sequel that challenges the notion of a tidy resolution and underscores the lasting consequence of war, loss, and exploitation in Pandora, and by extension, our own world. Now moving on to the first behind the scenes image we got in this issue of Empire magazine, we can see that basically front and center is James Cameron with stunt actress Alicia Bailey on his left side, and of course Zoe Saldana aka Neytiri on his other side, and it seems like Cameron is demonstrating how to use a certain bow. Judging by the people on the right side and the fact that stunt actress Alicia has reef written on her leg, it gives me the indication that Neytiri in the scene is probably showing the reef people how to properly use a bow and arrow. The person on the right with the green looks to be Tonowari, so it'll be interesting to see how Neytiri is going to train the reef people after in The Way of Water they were essentially training the Sullys. So I do wonder if we're actually going to see some reef people go to the Metkayina in Avatar Fire and Ash. But the other behind the scenes image that I find a little bit more interesting is this one right here, where Cameron has his hand on Stephen Lang aka Quaritch, and you can see there are 4 people standing upright in motion capture suits and one kneeled next to Stephen Lang, which says Andrew Male, but if you zoom in closely you can see that it says Andrew Ash Male. Now of course my guess why it says Ash on that sticker is the fact that this is an Ash clan member, because we saw Alicia had female written on her leg, so Ash Male of course indicates that this is an Ash clan member. And looking at this, I'm guessing that it is this scene right here where you can see Quaritch being held hostage or taken in by 5 Ash clan members. You can also see that the Ash clan members here have rifles or essentially weapons that's really long, and if you go back to the behind the scenes image you can also see they have these tubes that's also very long, indicating to me that these are probably the weapons that they are holding. And this is likely the scene where they take Quaritch to Varang, and then essentially when they get near her they're gonna force Quaritch to go on his knees. We've seen it many times in films where they take the hero, well in this case they would take Quaritch, but they take the hero to the villain, and when they get to the villain they kind of like force the hero down on his knees. So I'm guessing this is that scene playing out. But speaking of art pieces, one of the first showcases we got alongside the March issue of Empire magazine was this one right here of Varang, which we've actually seen before when they announced Avatar Fire and Ash at D23 in 2024. They gave us this image and it's just a higher quality look at this image. So a lot of the detail has been discussed before. Of course, we can see Varang front and center on top of this beast, which we don't really know what it's called yet. It seems to be much bigger than an Ikran, definitely more terrifying and dangerous. And at the back there, you can see the rock formation, clearly indicating that this is taking place at the Cove of Ancestors by the Metkayina. Now, I don't really know if this is an attack of some sort. It definitely definitely looks like they are invading the Metkayina with a lot of Na'vi riding Ikrans behind her. But what's interesting here is that you can clearly see that all of the Na'vi are wielding weapons, and the one on the left kind of looks like Lyle. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe it's just a template, but it looks like some of these Na'vi are wielding rocket launchers. And one really interesting thing to note about this art piece is that on the right there, you can see a Na'vi, or in this case a Recom, that clearly looks like Quaritch. The way the hair, the outfit, everything, especially the patterns of that specific Ikran, clearly looks like the Ikran that Quaritch uses in Avatar: The Way of Water. Down to the patterns on the back to the tail, exactly the same as the one Quaritch uses in The Way of Water. But what's even more interesting about this is that the artist, the talented artist Dylan Cole, actually posted this image recently on his Instagram. However, the big difference is that the Na'vi on the right side is changed. Even if you go on Empire Magazine's website, the exact same image that has the Path to Pandora logo on it, the Na'vi changed, which begs the question, why did they change the Na'vi on the right side? Did Empire Magazine post this and people kind of picked up that it looks like Quaritch, and then they realized that this is a potential spoiler, thus they quickly changed it? That is my theory on it, but it is interesting that they changed it so quickly after publishing this concept art. The next art piece that we got is this one right here of the Wind Traders, also by the talented artist Dylan Cole, and like the previous one, we also actually saw this one during the announcement of the title Avatar: Fire and Ash, and now we got a better look at these gigantic jellyfish-like creatures, which is pulled by the wind rays, these stingray-like things in the front. Now, we don't know much about them yet. Do they have defense capabilities? How fast are they? How big are they? Cameron did say that the jellyfish-like bubble is approximately 500 feet, and judging by the fact that the Eiffel Tower, for example, is just over 1,000 feet, makes these quite large. And an interesting thing that was pointed out to me by the Avatar podcast is that if you look at one of the other concept art pieces of the wind rays, these stingray-like creatures, and you zoom in very closely, it looks like there might be a Na'vi on top of it. Initially, when I looked at it, I thought it might just be a way for this strap to connect around these wind rays, that is a connecting point. But actually, if you, like I said, look very closely, it does look like a Na'vi is sitting right at the front there, possibly controlling the direction of these wind rays. So considering the fact, and again, it's just speculation, but considering the fact that if that is a Na'vi, if that is the size of a Na'vi, then these creatures are gigantic. Not only is the wind rays very big, but these jellyfish-like bubbles is going to be insanely big, and I cannot wait to see them on screen. Now, they are probably carrying villages inside them because, again, going by the size factor of the Na'vi in the front, you can easily see an entire village being housed in these floating structures. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they land, how they take off, if they have, like I said, defense mechanisms, and just how they function. But going back to the art piece that was revealed in Empire Magazine, this does seem to take place by the Metkayina area, given the fact that you can see the ocean at the bottom, the rock formation at the back there, and it just gives out vibes of the Metkayina Reef. Moving on to Frontiers of Pandora. Unfortunately, the future of Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora remains unclear following ongoing restructures at Ubisoft. Despite the game's launch in December 2023, job openings such as a senior character artist role at Massive suggest continued work on content or post-launch expansions. However, recent layoffs and studio closures at Ubisoft have cast doubt on the long-term support and potential future expansions for the game. Ubisoft has been undergoing significant restructuring efforts, including the cancellation of unannounced projects and the shutting down of multiple studios. With its focus shifting towards major franchises like Assassin's Creed and Rainbow Six, questions arise about the sustained support for Frontiers of Pandora, which, while tied to the Avatar film franchise, has not reached the commercial heights of Ubisoft's top-selling titles. As for now, Ubisoft has not announced any major addition related to Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. The current DLC, Skybreaker and Secrets of the Spires, was released to some positive reception, and this month has seen an increased player count on Steam. However, the broader instability at the company may impact the game's long-term roadmap, leaving fans uncertain about its continued development and potential future plans. In addition to all of the news recapping everything from the month of January, at the end of Pandora Plus, in each episode I will ask the audience, you guys, to submit some questions about the news of that month, Avatar 3, or just general questions to myself. And in this case, I picked 6 random questions from the community tab. First question by Rinets Gojira 1954 asks, will there be Lego sets for Avatar 3? Well, considering there has been Lego sets for the first and second Avatar, I can easily see there being some sets for the third Avatar movie. However, I know the Lego sets didn't do that well commercially, so I don't expect many sets, but I do anticipate that there will be some sets at least. Next, Toast asks, do you think we will get more flashbacks of the Sully kids growing up, Neytiri, and how the conflict of his death puts a toll on the family. Also, the conflict of Spider as well, and if he may potentially betray the family. Now, I don't think Spider will betray the family. I think he's more going to be the key to Quaritch and Jake, because I theorized quite a while ago that there's going to be some aspect of the movie where Quaritch will have to put his differences with Jake aside momentarily to save Spider. So I think he's going to play a big role in the third movie. In terms of flashbacks of the Sully kids growing up, I don't think we're gonna see more flashbacks of them growing up, but I do feel that we're gonna see Neytiri in some way, possibly in memories, but how he will interact with Jake and Neytiri is up for discussion. And finally, as for the conflict of his death and how it puts a toll on the family, Cameron already spoke about that in Empire magazine, stating that we will see the effects of that play out through the movie and how it will affect Jake and Neytiri. Next question, Classic Cat asks, are you going to make videos about the Fortnite x Avatar collaboration? Of course I'm going to make videos on that. In fact, it was rumored that Jake and Neytiri's Banshee will be dropping by the end of January, so by the time this video is out, we might have seen their Banshees in the store already. It's been a while since I've played Fortnite. I'm talking about years. Literally, it's been a couple of years since I've played Fortnite, so I'm going to have to basically refresh myself, maybe watch a refresher course on what's been happening in Fortnite. But I'm definitely going to not only play Fortnite, but do videos on the Avatar collaboration. Natalia Lezak asks, question about Avatar 3. Do you think we will see the Ash clan performing some sort of ritual in the movie, or maybe we will see some of their traditions on the big screen? Now, I do think we will see some crazy ritual of the Ash clan or Mangkuan being performed on screen, as hinted at by that one concept art that we saw during the announcement of the title Avatar Fire and Ash. And I think it's going to be quite a dark or eerie ritual, but we will most certainly see them do something, some sort of ritual on screen. So very excited to see that. Brighton Films asks, you think we will see amp suits in Avatar 3? And do you think we would ever be able to play as the RDA in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora? Now, I don't think we will ever have a chance to play as the RDA in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I think if that was the situation, we would have gotten a DLC or one of the expansions where we play as a perspective from the RDA. I think that would have been actually really good if we see an RDA soldier defect to the resistance side, and if one of the expansions you basically play as that soldier defecting to the resistance. That would have been quite interesting. Maybe one of the key characters of the resistance, of the human characters of the resistance, if we saw essentially their origin story in one of the DLC, I think that would have been great. But I don't think we're going to be able to play as the RDA in any future content for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. But in terms of will we see amp suits in Avatar 3, we will undoubtedly see amp suits in Avatar 3. I think there's going to be a massive battle at the end of the movie, which I will talk about in a future video. But I do think there's going to be a huge battle in the third Avatar movie, which is going to take place at Bridgehead. So almost certain that we're going to see amp suits in Avatar 3. And the final question by Roshank Arms asks, do you think Ubisoft will release a mod kit for Frontiers of Pandora on Steam so people can create and upload their own mods, to the Steam workshop for others to download, similar to the Witcher 3 Red Kit and Hogwarts Legacy mod kit? No, I don't think Ubisoft will ever do that. I have not seen them ever release a mod kit for any of their games. I don't recall ever them doing something like that for any of their games, but I might be wrong. I'm thinking of all their Assassin's Creed games and Splinter Cell. Just thinking about Ubisoft games in general, I don't believe that we've really seen them do mod kits for their games. So I don't see them doing that for Frontiers of Pandora. They've never released mod kits for their Snowdrop engine. The only mods that I've seen for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora has been in the Nexus page, where users have uploaded mods like different skins and different outfits, some eye and skin texture mods. But other than that, I have not seen Ubisoft do anything for their games, so I don't see them do something like that for Frontiers of Pandora. I think it'll be a great idea if they do, if they say, you know, that ongoing support for Frontiers of Pandora is going to essentially end after the next update, but here's a mod kit so fans can mod the game and just continue keeping the game alive. I think that'll be a very clever idea if they do that, but I don't see them do that, unfortunately. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't see them do that. So as we wrap up this month's edition of Pandora Plus, it's clear that we're going to get a lot of Avatar news in exciting and somewhat unexpected ways. James Cameron's latest insights into Avatar 3 Fire and Ash confirm that the franchise is taking a bolder, somewhat darker turn, challenging long-held assumptions about the Na'vi by introducing morally complex factions like the Ash people. The introduction of the Wind Traders and the deepening conflict with the RDA further demonstrate how Pandora's narrative is evolving beyond a simple battle between good and evil. With each new revelation, it's evident that Cameron is committed to keeping the story fresh, immersive, and emotionally resonant. Beyond the cinematic universe, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora remains in a state of uncertainty amidst Ubisoft restructuring. While we hope that post-launch content will continue to be released, the game's long-term future remains unclear, leaving all of us hopeful but cautious. As we move closer to the highly anticipated Avatar Fire and Ash in December, the coming months will no doubt bring even more surprises, whether through new trailers, concept art, behind the scene reveals, or additional game updates. But if you've watched it this far, I want to thank you for watching the first episode of Pandora Plus. As I said, this will be a monthly video recapping all of the news of Avatar 3 leading up to its release December 19th, 2025, where we will finally be able to watch Avatar Fire and Ash. So if you have any feedback on Pandora Plus, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you're most excited to see from the third movie. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.